My name is Emma Collins, and I never thought I'd become the villain in my own love story. For most of my life, I believed that love grew stronger with time, like fine wine, richer and more meaningful with every passing year. But as I sit here on a quiet autumn evening, gazing out the window of my small apartment, I've learned a painful truth. Love can also break apart in a single reckless moment. I was 32 when I met Ryan, my husband. He was the kind of man every woman hopes to find. Patient, kind, and endlessly devoted. We met at a charity event in Chicago, where I accidentally spilled coffee on his crisp white shirt. Instead of getting angry, he laughed softly and said, "Well, now I'll never forget you." From that day on, we were inseparable. Ryan worked as an architect, and I was a graphic designer. Together, we built a life filled with quiet happiness, Sunday morning pancakes, evening walks along Lake Michigan, movie nights tangled in blankets. It was simple, ordinary, and yet it felt perfect. For 8 years, I truly believed we were happy. But happiness doesn't always disappear in storms. Sometimes it fades slowly, quietly, when you stop nurturing it. The first cracks appeared as our lives became busier. Ryan's firm began taking on larger projects, keeping him at the office late into the night. I worked remotely, spending most of my days alone in our apartment. At first, I didn't mind, but loneliness has a way of whispering doubts into your heart. That's when Ethan entered my life. He was a new client at my design firm, charming, funny, and effortlessly intriguing. He admired my work, noticed the little things, and made me feel seen again, something I hadn't felt in years. It began innocently, just conversations about art and music. Then came the texts. Then the late-night calls. I kept telling myself it was harmless, that Ryan was simply busy, but deep down I knew I was crossing a line. Then came the moment I can never take back. One evening, Ryan came home carrying takeout from my favorite Thai restaurant. I was on the phone with Ethan. Ryan looked at me with tired eyes but still managed to smile. "Working late again?" he asked gently. I nodded, my heart pounding as guilt began to rise like a storm inside me. My heart was pounding with guilt. A week later, Ethan asked if I'd like to meet him for coffee, just to talk, he said. I agreed. We sat in a quiet cafe, laughed, shared stories, and for a few fleeting hours I felt seen again. One cup of coffee turned into an entire afternoon of emotional connection. It felt like falling, but I didn't realize I was falling straight into ruin. That day changed everything. I began comparing Ryan to Ethan, his spontaneity, his warmth, his attention. The same stability I once adored in Ryan now felt like a cage. One night, Ryan looked at me and softly asked, "Are you happy, Em?" I couldn't answer. He turned away, his face clouded with quiet worry. He knew something was off but didn't push me. That gentle silence shattered me more than any accusation ever could. A few weeks later, I made the worst decision of my life. I lied to Ryan, telling him I had to attend a design workshop out of town. Instead, I met Ethan. It wasn't romantic like in the movies. No candles, no grand confessions. Just two lost people trying to escape their emptiness for a night. The next morning, I couldn't bear to look at myself in the mirror. Ryan called me, his voice warm and full of love. "I miss you already," he said. I nearly collapsed. He didn't know that at that very moment, I had betrayed him in the most unforgivable way. When I returned home, he greeted me with a hug. The guilt consumed me. Every time he smiled, every time he cooked dinner, my chest tightened until it hurt to breathe. Days turned into weeks, and my secret affair with Ethan continued, hidden beneath layers of lies. But deceit is heavy. It starts to seep through every word, every glance. Soon every conversation with Ryan felt forced, every smile painfully fake. Then came the night it all fell apart. It was a Thursday evening when I came home to find Ryan sitting in the dark living room, my phone in his hand. He didn't say a word at first. The glow of the screen illuminated his face, and I saw Ethan's name, the messages, the proof of my betrayal. "Why, Emma?" he whispered, his voice trembling. Was I not enough? I had no answer. My world crumbled around me. I begged, I cried, but no amount of tears could erase what I had done. He didn't yell. He just stood there for a moment, then quietly walked to the bedroom, packed a small bag, and said, "I need time." When the door closed behind him, it felt like the entire life I once knew closed with it. The days that followed were empty and silent. Ethan tried to comfort me, but his words only reminded me of what I'd destroyed. It was then I realized I had never truly loved him. I was only trying to escape my own loneliness. Ryan stopped answering my calls, and weeks later, I received a message that shattered me completely. "I've filed for separation. Take care of yourself." The home we had built together became unbearable. Every wall echoed with memories of laughter and love that no longer existed. I moved out, leaving behind the life I'd ruined. Ethan disappeared soon after, saying he couldn't handle the guilt. And just like that, I was left with nothing. No husband, no love, no peace. Months later, desperate to find some meaning again, I joined a local support group for people healing from broken relationships. That's where I met Samantha, a woman whose words changed my life. "Forgiveness doesn't mean he'll come back," she told me softly. "It means you're ready to live again." Those words stayed with me. I began to rebuild myself piece by piece. Therapy sessions, journaling, volunteering. Each step helped me rediscover fragments of who I was. I started designing again, this time channeling my pain into my art. Slowly, I learned that self-worth isn't something you find in another person's eyes. It's something you reclaim by treating yourself with kindness after you've fallen apart. A year later, fate brought Ryan and me face to face again at a mutual friend's wedding. My heart raced when I saw him. He looked the same, calm, grounded, but there was a quiet strength in his eyes I hadn't noticed before. We spoke for a while, both careful, both changed. "I'm sorry, Ryan," I whispered. "For everything." He nodded gently. "I forgave you a long time ago," he said. "But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting." We parted peacefully that day. He had moved on, and he was seeing someone new. It hurt, but I also felt something unexpected. Calm. For the first time, I wasn't clinging to the past. I had finally accepted the consequences of my choices. Now, 3 years later, I live a quieter life. I still design, still walk by the lake where we once shared our dreams. Sometimes I think of Ryan, of what we had and what I lost. If I could go back, I'd choose differently. Not because I want him back, but because I'd want to be the person he believed I was.